Good morning, everyone. Please be seated. Take your time. Before we begin today, I have to tell you something. This case has troubled me. It's been keeping me up at night. I've been sitting on this bench for 32 years, and I've seen a lot of things that bothered me, a lot of things that made me sad, a lot of things that made me angry. But this one is different. The defendant's father is a congressman. He represents Rhode Island's 2nd District. He sits on the House Veterans Affairs Committee. He campaigns on honoring those who served. Every Veterans Day, every Memorial Day, he's there giving speeches about sacrifice and service and what we owe to the men and women who protect this country. But he's not here today. He's in Washington. He should be here. He needs to see this. He needs to hear what his daughter did while he was in Washington giving speeches about veterans. And you know what? Before we're done today, he will. I'm going to make sure of that. Let me tell you about this case. The defendant is Brianna Michelle Harrington, age 21, date of birth, September 8, 2003. Her address of record is 445 Angel Street, College Hill, Providence. That's one of the nicest neighborhoods in the city. Beautiful historic homes, tree-lined streets. Miss Harrington is a junior at Brown University, studying political science. She attended the Wheeler School, before that one of the finest private schools in Rhode Island. She works summers as an intern in her father's congressional office. She receives a monthly allowance of $4,000 from her parents. Her father, as I mentioned, is Congressman David Michael Harrington, 10 years in Congress. He was first elected in 2014 and has been re-elected every 2 years since then. He's the ranking member of the House Veterans Affairs Committee. He also sits on the Armed Services Committee. If you follow Rhode Island politics, you know Congressman Harrington. His campaign slogan is honoring those who served. He attends every veterans event. He sponsors legislation for veteran health care. He gives beautiful speeches about sacrifice. Her mother is Dr. Elizabeth Harrington, a pediatric surgeon at Hasbro Children's Hospital. The family attorney is Victoria Sinclair of Sinclair and Associates, a criminal defense specialist. So that's who Brianna Harrington is. That's the family she comes from. That's the platform her father has built. But his daughter did something that makes me question everything about what those speeches really mean. Before I tell you what she did, I want to tell you about the man she did it to. His name is Jerome Washington. Master Sergeant Jerome Washington, United States Army, retired. Everyone calls him Jerry. Jerry is 44 years old. He served this country for 22 years. 22 years. He enlisted right out of high school in 1998 and devoted his entire adult life to military service. He did 4 combat tours: Iraq in 2003 and again in 2006, Afghanistan in 2010 and 2014. He earned the Silver Star, that's one of the highest decorations for valor in combat. He earned 2 Bronze Stars, 3 Purple Hearts, the Combat Infantryman Badge, multiple other commendations. But the reason Jerry is in this courtroom today, the reason this case exists, is because of what happened on September 3rd, 2014, in Kandahar Province, Afghanistan. Jerry was leading a patrol. His unit was protecting a village school. There were children inside learning to read, to write, to count. Jerry and his soldiers were there to make sure those children could learn in peace. There were 2 young soldiers with him that day. Private First Class Marcus Webb, 19 years old. Specialist Damon Rodriguez, 20 years old. Kids. Really, just kids in uniform. An IED went off. Jerry saw the flash. That's the last thing he ever saw. In that split second, Jerry made a choice. He threw himself over Marcus and Damon. He shielded them with his own body. He took the blast, the shrapnel, the fire. Marcus Webb and Damon Rodriguez walked out of that valley. They went home to their families. Marcus got married. He has a daughter now. She was born last year. Damon got to see his mother one more time before she passed away. They kept their eyes. They kept their lives. Jerry was medevaced out in darkness, a darkness that has never lifted. He spent 2 years learning how to live without sight, 2 years relearning everything, how to walk, how to dress, how to navigate a world he can no longer see. Today, Jerry walks with a service dog named Apollo, a beautiful black Labrador. Apollo is Jerry's eyes. They've been together for 5 years. That dog guides him everywhere, to the grocery store, to the coffee shop, to the VA hospital where Jerry volunteers, counseling other veterans who are newly blinded. That's right, Jerry volunteers. He gives his time to help others who are going through what he went through. He speaks at schools about service and resilience. He mentors young soldiers. He's an active member of the Blinded Veterans Association. He lives independently in Warwick. He asks no one for pity. He never complains. I have a quote here from Jerry. He said this to the investigator who took his statement after the incident we're here to discuss today. He said, "I gave my eyes so those 2 soldiers could keep theirs. I'd do it again tomorrow." That's who Jerry Washington is. That's the man we're talking about. A Silver Star recipient, a hero, a man who sacrificed his sight so 2 young soldiers could live. And on November 9th, 2024, Brianna Harrington called him pathetic. Let me tell you what happened. November 9th, 2024, a Saturday afternoon, time 3:15 p.m., location, Thayer Street, College Hill, Providence. For those who know Providence, Thayer Street is a busy commercial area near Brown University. Shops, restaurants, coffee places, lots of foot traffic, especially on a Saturday afternoon. Jerry was walking with Apollo on Thayer Street. He was heading to a coffee shop where he meets other veterans every Saturday. It's a tradition. They get together, they talk, they support each other. It's one of the highlights of his week. Brianna Harrington was leaving a boutique with 2 of her friends, Madison Cole and Alexis Brennan, both also 21 years old. They're not charged in this case, but they gave witness statements. As Brianna came out of the store, her shopping bag bumped into Apollo. It happens on crowded sidewalks. It's nothing, a moment of contact in a busy area. But instead of saying, "Excuse me," or "Sorry," or just moving on, Brianna stopped, and she said, and I'm reading directly from the witness statements and the security camera audio, she said, "You, gross, get your dog out of my way. This is a shopping area, not a kennel." Jerry remained calm. He said, "Ma'am, this is my service dog. I'm blind. He helps me navigate." And Brianna Harrington laughed. She laughed and she said, "Oh my God, you're actually blind? That's so sad. Can you even see how pathetic you look right now, stumbling around with your little helper dog? Pathetic." She called a Silver Star recipient pathetic. Jerry tried to walk away. He didn't engage. He didn't argue. He just tried to leave. But Brianna followed him. She said to her friends, loudly enough for Jerry and everyone nearby to hear, "Watch this." And then she said to Jerry, "Hey, blind guy, how many fingers am I holding up?" The security camera footage shows what she did. She held up her middle finger. And her friends laughed. Jerry kept trying to walk away. He didn't respond. He had Apollo. He was trying to navigate around them, trying to get to his coffee shop, trying to just live his life. But she wasn't done. Brianna grabbed Apollo's harness, the harness that guides Jerry through a world he cannot see. She grabbed it and she yanked it and she said, "Does the blind guy even know where he's going? Maybe I should lead you." "Oh, wait, you probably can't afford to tip me." Apollo yelped. Service dogs are trained to remain calm, but when someone yanks their harness hard enough, they react. Apollo yelped. Jerry said, firmly but without raising his voice, "Please let go of my dog." And then, and this is on the security camera, from the CVS at 291 Thayer Street, timestamp 3 hours 17 minutes and 22 seconds. Brianna Harrington took out her phone. She started recording, and she said, "This is content. Blind veteran gets roasted on Thayer Street. You're going to go viral, buddy." And then she pushed him. She pushed a blind man. Jerry stumbled backward. Apollo tried to steady him, but Jerry fell into a parking meter. His forehead hit the metal pole. He went down. The security footage shows it all. A 21-year-old woman pushing a 44-year-old blind veteran, watching him fall, continuing to record. Jerry Washington, Silver Star recipient, 22 years of service, saved 2 soldiers' lives, lying on the pavement of Thayer Street with blood running down his face. Because a congressman's daughter wanted content, Jerry's injuries from this assault: a cut on his forehead requiring 6 stitches, bruised ribs from the impact with the parking meter. Apollo was examined by a veterinarian afterward, physically okay, but he showed signs of stress for weeks. Service dogs feel when their handlers are hurt. Apollo knew something terrible had happened. The incident was witnessed by multiple people. Thomas Nguyen, age 34, owns Thayer Street Books. He saw the entire thing through his store window. He called 911 at 3:19 p.m. Professor Catherine Blackwood, age 58, teaches history at Brown University. She was walking by, saw Jerry fall, and stopped to help him. She stayed until the police arrived. And the CVS security camera captured everything. Timestamp 3 hours 15 minutes and 22 seconds through 3 hours 18 minutes and 45 seconds. 3.5 minutes of cruelty. But the story doesn't end there. At 3:42 p.m., that same day, less than half an hour after she pushed a blind veteran to the ground, Brianna Harrington posted the video to TikTok. The caption read, "Blind guy didn't see this coming," with a laughing emoji and a skull emoji. Hashtag Thayer Street. Hashtag content creator. That video received 47,000 views before TikTok removed it for violating community guidelines against harassment. But screenshots were preserved. The video was preserved. It's all in evidence. Officer Samuel Okafor, badge number 445, 12-year veteran of the Providence Police Department, responded to Mr. Nguyen's 911 call. He arrived at 3:24 p.m. Brianna was still in the area. She was with her friends, laughing about what had happened. When Officer Okafor approached her, she said, and I have this from his body camera, she said, "Are you kidding me? It was a joke. He's fine. Do you know who my father is? Congressman Harrington? He's on the Veterans Affairs Committee. He'll straighten this out in 5 minutes." The Veterans Affairs Committee, her father sits on the committee that's supposed to help veterans, and she thought that would get her out of assaulting one. She was arrested and charged with assault causing bodily injury, harassment of a disabled person, which is an enhanced charge under Rhode Island law, interference with a service animal, disorderly conduct, and filing a false statement. That last charge is because she initially claimed Jerry attacked her first. A lie contradicted by every witness and the security camera footage. Now, let me tell you what happened after the arrest. Because, of course, the Harrington family tried to make this go away. On November 10th, the day after the assault, Congressman Harrington called the Providence police chief. On November 11th, Attorney Victoria Sinclair contacted the district attorney's office requesting discretion given the political sensitivity. On November 14th, the congressman's chief of staff called my chambers. The call was not returned. And on November 20th, the Harrington family offered Jerry Washington $100,000 to drop the charges and sign a non-disclosure agreement. $100,000. Do you know what Jerry said? He told the prosecutor, "I didn't lose my eyes for money. I lost them for something bigger. If I take that check, I'm telling every veteran who comes after me that we can be bought. We can't. Our dignity isn't for sale. Our dignity isn't for sale." That's who Jerry Washington is. Offered $100,000 and he said no because his integrity matters more than money, because he represents something larger than himself. Now, let's talk about what's happening here in this courtroom. Miss Harrington, I've been reading the evidence for several minutes now. I've described what you did. I've told this courtroom about the man you attacked. And I've been watching your face. You rolled your eyes twice. You checked your phone once before your attorney took it away. And a moment ago, when I described Jerry refusing the settlement money, you sighed. So, let me ask you directly, do you have anything to say? Do you understand what you did? The defendant stands and says, "Your Honor, this is so blown out of proportion. It was a joke. I didn't know he was, like, a war hero or whatever. I bumped into him and he got upset. It's not a crime to be on social media. A joke. You called a blind veteran pathetic. You yanked his service dog's harness. You pushed him into a parking meter. You filmed him bleeding on the sidewalk. You posted it with the caption, 'Blind guy didn't see this coming.' And you think that's a joke?" The defendant continues, "I mean, he's fine now, right? Can't my dad just, make a donation somewhere and we can move on? He donates to veteran stuff all the time. Make a donation. You know what, Miss Harrington? I've had enough. Your father isn't here today. He's in Washington, doing his important work on the Veterans Affairs Committee, giving speeches about honoring those who served, attending ceremonies, taking photographs with veterans. But I think he needs to hear this. I think he needs to know exactly what his daughter did to a man who sacrificed his sight for this country, while her father talks about honor and sacrifice in press releases. Miss Thornton, please dial Congressman Harrington's Washington office. The number is in the case file. We're going to get him on the phone right now. Attorney Sinclair stands. Your Honor, I must object. This is highly irregular. You can't call a sitting congressman during a court proceeding. Objection overruled. If Congressman Harrington campaigns on supporting veterans, he has a right to know and a duty to know what his daughter did to one. And if he's been making phone calls trying to make this case disappear, then he can hear directly from this court why that's not going to happen. Miss Thornton, make the call. The clerk dials. The phone rings through the courtroom speakers. 1 ring. 2 rings. A receptionist answers. This is Judge Frank Caprio, Providence Municipal Court. I need to speak with Congressman Harrington immediately. It's regarding a court matter involving his daughter. It's urgent. Hold music. 30 seconds. A minute. And then the congressman's voice comes through. This is Congressman Harrington. What's going on? Is Brianna okay? Congressman, this is Judge Frank Caprio. Your daughter is standing before me in courtroom 3, a Providence Municipal Court. She's been charged with assaulting a blind veteran, a Silver Star recipient named Jerome Washington, who lost his sight in Afghanistan protecting 2 young soldiers. I thought you should hear exactly what she did. The congressman responds, confused. Judge, I was told this was a misunderstanding. There was some kind of incident, but I understood it was being handled. Let me read you what actually happened. Congressman, on November 9th, your daughter encountered Master Sergeant Jerome Washington on Thayer Street. He was walking with his service dog, Apollo. Your daughter called him, and I'm quoting from the police report, pathetic. She asked him how many fingers she was holding up while displaying her middle finger. She grabbed his service dog's harness and yanked it hard enough to make the dog yelp. And then she pushed him, a blind man, causing him to fall into a parking meter and cut his head open. She then filmed him bleeding on the sidewalk and posted it to TikTok with the caption, "Blind guy didn't see this coming." Long silence from the phone. Did you know about this, Congressman? Did you know your daughter pushed a blind Silver Star recipient and posted it to TikTok for laughs? The congressman's voice is strained now. I didn't know the details. My staff told me there was a misunderstanding. I was told she bumped into someone and there was an overreaction. I didn't know. I didn't know any of what you just said. Well, now you know. You campaign on honoring veterans. You sit on the Veterans Affairs Committee. You give speeches every Memorial Day and Veterans Day about sacrifice and service. And your daughter called a man who gave his eyes for this country pathetic. She pulled his service dog's harness hard enough to make the dog cry out. She pushed him to the ground. She filmed his humiliation for social media entertainment. This is what's happening in your family, Congressman, while you're in Washington talking about honor and sacrifice. The congressman, barely audible. I didn't know. I swear to you, Judge, I didn't know the extent of it. Jerry Washington lost his sight on September 3rd, 2014, in Kandahar province. There were 2 young soldiers with him, Marcus Webb and Damon Rodriguez. An IED went off. Jerry threw himself over those boys. He shielded them with his body. They went home. He went to a hospital where he learned he would never see again. He saved their lives. Marcus Webb has a daughter now. Damon Rodriguez got to see his mother before she died. They have their eyes because Jerry Washington gave his. And your daughter called him pathetic. Your daughter thought this was content. Long silence. When the congressman speaks again, his voice is broken. I don't know what to say. I don't know how this happened. I've tried to teach her. Congressman, I'm going to tell you something, and I want you to really hear it. Whatever you taught your daughter about respect, about service, about basic human decency, it didn't take. Maybe you were too busy. Maybe you were in Washington too much. Maybe you thought giving speeches about veterans was the same as raising a child who respects them. It's not. Actions speak louder than legislation. And your daughter's actions told Jerry Washington and told this courtroom exactly what values she absorbed from her upbringing. I'm sentencing her today. She's going to jail. And when she gets out, she's going to spend 500 hours serving veterans. Real service. Not photo opportunities. Not campaign events. Actual, hands-on work with the men and women who sacrifice for this country. Maybe she'll learn from them what you couldn't teach her at home. The Congressman. I understand, Your Honor. I understand. The call ends. The courtroom is silent. Now, before I deliver the sentence, there's someone who deserves to be heard. Master Sergeant Washington, would you like to address the court? Jerry stands slowly. Apollo rises with him, positioning himself to guide. Jerry turns toward the general direction of the bench. Your Honor, thank you for letting me speak. I'm not angry. I want everyone to know that. I'm not here for revenge. I'm not here to make this young woman suffer. On September 3rd, 2014, I was leading a patrol in Kandahar province. We were protecting a village school. There were children inside, little kids learning their ABCs, learning to count, learning to dream. That's what we were protecting. Not territory. Not resources. Children's dreams. There were 2 young soldiers with me that day. Private First Class Marcus Webb, 19 years old. Specialist Damon Rodriguez, 20 years old. They were so young. They had their whole lives ahead of them. When that IED went off, I saw the flash. That's the last thing I ever saw. A white flash. And in that moment, that split second, I made a choice. I threw myself over Marcus and Damon. I felt the impact. I felt the heat. And then I felt nothing. I woke up in a hospital in Germany. A nurse was holding my hand. She told me the boys were okay. They were safe. They went home. I asked her about my eyes. She was quiet for a long time. And then she told me, I spent 2 years learning how to live in darkness. 2 years learning how to walk with a cane. Then with Apollo. 2 years learning how to dress myself, how to make breakfast, how to navigate a world I can no longer see. Some days are hard. Some days I miss seeing the sunset, or the faces of the people I love, or the way light plays on water. But I never regret what I did. Not for 1 second. Jerry pauses. This young lady, she called me pathetic. She said I looked sad, stumbling around. She laughed at my blindness. But here's what I want to say. I'm not pathetic. I'm proud. I'm proud of what I did. I gave my eyes so Marcus Webb could watch his daughter being born last year. I gave my eyes so Damon Rodriguez could see his mother one more time before she passed. Those eyes, my eyes, they're still seeing things. They're just seeing them through Marcus and Damon now. I would give them again. In a heartbeat. I would give them again. Jerry turned slightly toward where Brianna is sitting. Ma'am, I don't know if you can hear me through whatever you're feeling right now, but I want you to know something. I forgive you. I forgive you because anger is heavier than I can carry. I've carried a lot in my life, a rifle, a rucksack, wounded brothers, grief, loss. But anger is the heaviest thing of all, and I can't carry it anymore. I don't want you to go to prison to suffer. I want you to go there to learn. I want you to spend time with veterans, real time, not photo ops. I want you to understand that the people you mocked are the reason you get to shop on Thayer Street in peace, the reason you get to post on TikTok, the reason you get to be free. We gave things. Some gave arms. Some gave legs. I gave my eyes. Others gave everything. And we didn't give them for thanks, or for money, or for recognition. We gave them because we believed in something bigger than ourselves. I hope you learn what that feels like. I really do. Jerry sits down. Apollo settles at his feet. The courtroom is completely silent. Let me say something about what we just witnessed. That man right there was mocked, pushed, injured, humiliated, and filmed for entertainment. And he just stood up and said, I forgive you. That's grace. That's character. That's the kind of person 22 years of service produces. I've been on this bench for 32 years. I've seen defendants and victims from every walk of life. I've seen anger. I've seen revenge. I've seen bitterness that destroys people from the inside out. But I've never seen anything like what Jerry Washington just did. To be able to stand there, blind, still healing from the injuries this defendant caused, and offer forgiveness that takes a strength that most people will never have. That's what a hero looks like. Not a cape. Not superpowers. A man with a guide dog who lost his eyes saving 2 kids and still finds it in his heart to forgive the person who pushed him down and laughed about it. Let me tell you about service. Real service. My uncle served in World War II. He landed at Normandy. He came home with shrapnel in his leg that never came out. He never talked about it. He just went to work every day, raised his family, and when people thanked him for his service, he'd say, "I just did what needed doing." I've known veterans all my life. I've seen what they give. I've seen what they carry, the physical wounds and the invisible ones, and I've seen how some people treat them, how some people forget. Jerry Washington volunteered at the VA hospital before this happened. He was still going back every week to counsel newly blinded veterans, men and women going through the darkest time of their lives, even after what Miss Harrington did to him. He didn't stop. He couldn't stop. Because that's who he is. And Congressman Harrington gives speeches. Which one of them actually honors those who served? Miss Harrington, I want to address you directly now. Your father talks about veterans. He sits on committees about veterans. He campaigns on veterans. But you showed us what you actually think of them. You showed us that in your world, a man who sacrificed his sight is pathetic, that his suffering is content, that his service dog is something to yank on for laughs. You come from privilege. You've had every advantage, the best schools, the family connections, the allowance, the internships, and this is what you did with all of that. You used it to mock a man who has nothing but his integrity and his service. What does that tell me about your character? Now, here's what I've decided. I've reviewed all the evidence in this case. I've watched the security camera footage from the CVS at 291 Thayer Street. I've read the witness statements from Thomas Newen and Professor Catherine Blackwood. I've reviewed Officer Okafor's arrest report and body camera footage. I've seen the TikTok video. I've read Jerry Washington's victim impact statement. I've reviewed the prosecution's recommendation. I've reviewed the defense's recommendation. Ms. Sinclair has requested probation, community service, and counseling. She describes this as a lapse in judgment by a young woman with her whole life ahead of her. A lapse in judgment. This wasn't a lapse. This was a revelation. This was a window into who Brianna Harrington really is when she thinks no one important is watching. Here's my ruling. Case number PR20241198892. On the charge of assault causing bodily injury, guilty. I sentence you to 90 days in the Rhode Island Adult Correctional Institutions, Women's Division. On the charge of harassment of a disabled person, an enhanced charge under Rhode Island law, guilty. I sentence you to 60 days consecutive to the first charge. On the charge of interference with a service animal, guilty. I sentence you to 30 days consecutive. On the charge of disorderly conduct, guilty. I sentence you to 30 days consecutive. On the charge of filing a false statement because you lied and claimed Jerry attacked you first, guilty. I sentence you to 30 days consecutive. Let me add that up for you. 90 plus 60 plus 30 plus 30 plus 30. That's 240 days, Miss Harrington. 8 months. Additionally, I am imposing a fine of $20,000. That fine will be distributed as follows. $10,000 to the Blinded Veterans Association. $5,000 to Guide Dogs for the Blind, the organization that trained Apollo and provides service dogs to veterans like Jerry, and $5,000 to the Rhode Island Disabled Veterans Fund. Additionally, I am ordering restitution of $15,000 to Jerry Washington. That covers his medical bills, Apollo's veterinary bills, and compensation for the emotional distress you caused. Additionally, upon your release, you will serve 2 years of probation. But here's the part I want you to pay attention to. Here's the part that matters. You will complete 500 hours of community service. And every single hour of that service will be with veterans organizations. 200 hours at the Providence VA Medical Center. You will work with blind veterans. You will assist them. You will talk to them. You will learn their stories. 200 hours at Blinded Veterans Association events. You will help organize them. You will serve at them. You will be present with the men and women you mocked. And 100 hours reading to blind veterans. You will learn proper audiobook recording technique. You will sit in a room with veterans who cannot see, and you will be their eyes on the page. You will give them something instead of taking. You mocked a blind veteran. Now you will serve blind veterans for 500 hours. And maybe by the end of it, you'll understand what service actually means. Additional conditions. You will complete 40 hours of disability awareness training. You will write a formal letter of apology to Jerry Washington. That letter will be read aloud in this courtroom at a follow-up hearing. You will look in his direction even though he cannot see you, and you will apologize for what you did. You will personally apologize to Jerry in person, with your father present. Congressman Harrington will be required to attend. He will watch his daughter apologize to the veteran she mocked while he was giving speeches about honoring those who served. You will have no contact with the victim outside of the required apology. You will delete all social media accounts for the duration of your probation. No TikTok, no Instagram, no content creation. For 2 years, you will live without the platform you used to humiliate a hero. You will wear an ankle monitor for the first 90 days after your release. And if you violate any term of this sentence, you will be back in this courtroom, and the consequences will be severe. You will report to the Rhode Island Adult Correctional Institutions on December 20th, 2024 at 9 a.m. You will be released approximately in August of 2025. Now, let me explain why I've done what I've done. This isn't about revenge. It isn't about making you suffer for suffering's sake. It's about consequences. It's about learning. It's about understanding that your actions have effects on real people with real lives. Jerry Washington spent 22 years serving this country. He spent another 10 years serving his fellow veterans, even after losing his sight. He has given and given and given. You took his dignity on that sidewalk. You took his peace. You took his trust in his fellow citizens. You took and you laughed about it and you posted it online for attention. 8 months is time to think. It's time to understand. It's time to sit with what you did. And 500 hours serving veterans, that's time to give. For once in your life, you're going to give instead of take. You're going to serve instead of mock. You're going to learn what honor actually looks like, not from speeches, but from the men and women who lived it. When you get out, you'll be 22 years old. You'll still have your whole life ahead of you. The question is, what kind of person are you going to be? Are you going to come out of this the same entitled, cruel person who walked in? Are you going to go right back to thinking that veterans are pathetic and that their suffering is content? Or are you going to learn something? Are you going to understand that the people you mocked are the reason you live in freedom? Are you going to develop some humility, some gratitude, some basic human decency? That's your choice. I've given you the time and the opportunity. What you do with it is up to you. Before I close, I want to say some things to some people. Master Sergeant Washington. Jerry, I want to thank you. Not just for your service to this country, though that would be enough. Not just for the eyes you gave so 2 young soldiers could keep theirs, but for what you did in this courtroom today. You showed more grace in 5 minutes than most people show in a lifetime. You forgave someone who doesn't deserve forgiveness, not because she earned it, but because you chose not to carry the weight of anger. That's strength, real strength, the kind that comes from service and sacrifice and surviving things that would break most people. This court honors you. This city honors you. And I truly hope that you know how much you are respected and valued. Officer Okafor, you did your job. When Miss Harrington told you her father was a congressman and suggested he'd straighten this out, you arrested her anyway. You documented everything. You followed procedure. That's what good policing looks like. Thank you. To everyone watching, this is what a hero looks like. Not a cape, not superpowers. A man walking with a guide dog named Apollo. A man who lost his eyes saving 2 soldiers. A man who volunteers to help other blind veterans even after being mocked and pushed down on a public street. A man who forgave his attacker because anger is heavier than he can carry. That's honor. That's service. That's what we should be teaching our children. And this is what accountability looks like. A congressman's daughter held to the same standard as everyone else. No special treatment. No deals made in back rooms. No phone calls that make it all disappear. The law applies to everyone. That's what makes it law. Miss Harrington, you're going to be led away now. You're going to spend 8 months thinking about what you did. And then you're going to spend 500 hours serving the very people you mocked. Maybe you'll learn something. Maybe you'll become someone different. That's my hope. But whatever happens, know this. Jerry Washington's dignity remains intact. His service is honored. His sacrifice is remembered. You couldn't take that from him. No one can. This court is adjourned. Bailiff, please proceed. This is a dramatization for storytelling and educational purposes. It is not legal advice, not based on a real case, and is not intended as factual reporting.